Hello, good morning or good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Again, thank you for your time in sharing with Fanvil. Today, we're going to be going through the How-To Series 3. This is actually a third out of 4 different series, which we actually go over some of the value that this management server may bring to you from being able to provide you with a central management platform to handle all of our endpoint devices. So what I'm going to do is for this series, it's going to be a quick review of SIP account management, because in SIP account management, nearly everybody on this platform is affiliated with either a hosted or an on-prem SIP platform, which you can go ahead and incorporate into this program. And what that enables you to do is to quickly access and provide user accounts. So with one SIP provider, you could then assign extension 101, 102, 103 to different users, pre-done, so that once you go ahead and put this configuration in place, you can then be able to provide out-of-the-box provisioning at the location in which these phones or whatever endpoints you decide to go ahead and do on a remote basis. Coupling SIP account management, there's also going to be task management as well, where you can actually load and redo a couple of high-level things like rebooting the phone, updating configuration, as well as updating firmware management. As time moves forward, we provide enhancements to these phones, as well as be able to fix or address any particular bugs. And then also with alarm management, you get to control how you go ahead and be notified of specific faults that occur out in the field. Well, coupling with myself today is my colleague Hector Zarita, who's going to actually provide a walkthrough demonstration to kind of walk you through FDMCS and kind of show you what kind of topics that it will actually provide to you, and he'll go ahead and follow that. But before we all get started, let me spend about a quick 20 seconds in house cleaning. Handouts. I've already included a copy of the PDF version of this slide in your handout. So if you look at your GoToWebinar client, you should be able to go to handouts and download a soft copy of this for your own personal reference. If you have any questions, I suggest that you put those questions in the question box that you may have. That way, at the end of this webinar, both Hector and I would be available to address whatever questions you might have. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and move on to that. Again, I don't know if I introduced myself. My name is Tommy Lee. I'm the VP of Sales for North America, and I basically run a lot of the business and channel operations through North America here for Fanvil. So the great news about Fanvil as another differentiator is that both Hector, myself, provide local access to many of the people that are out there. So these are some of the things that you may want to consider when choosing an endpoint out there. So just kind of quick going over, we're going to actually go through an Fdms Cs overview as well as one slide. Many of you may be coming across Fanvil for the very first time, and for those, I set aside one slide to give you a quick overview. Then I'm going to go over the key features that I talked about, SIP account management, which then gives you the ability to compile all of those things into it. Now, if you want to you can go back to the Fanvil YouTube library and go back and understand the very early stages. You can go to stage 1 and stage 2, which gives you the ability to kind of go and set up the resources and how do you set up the account so that it matches your particular business. And then following on will be demonstrations and Q&A that will be supported by both Hector and myself. So let's go over a quick overview. This is the one slide for those people who aren't familiar and seeing Fanvil for the very first time. Fanvil very much is a SIP endpoint provider. What does that really mean, endpoint providers? Well, SIP is a local open standard that 98% of all the different phone upgrades that are happening in businesses, schools, everywhere are going towards an old analog or proprietary digital into the SIP standard. And we provide the endpoints here, which all of these endpoints should be able to match your particular SIP provider. It's very much like how you go ahead and open up a plug outlet. Nobody thinks about when they buy a toaster and they plug it in their wall, it's just a standard outlet that it just fits in. Well, when you try to take a US plug and plug it into anywhere else, you'll find that it's no longer compatible. So that's the level of compatibility. So if you have a SIP PBX, all of these endpoints that Fanvil has designed and manufactured would be available to you. And as a channel perspective, Fanvil actually delivers these endpoints through local distributors throughout North America. So looking at the SIP desk phones, we have business phones here, which is actually outlined in black, which actually provides all of the different features and colors that you could particularly want, from basically low-end economic versions to really high-level executive phones, or even receptionist phones to take care of that. Now, beyond that, we also have a particular line here that's really focused in on hospitality. So we have a whole series of phones that provide different options that for those who also want to propose a SIP endpoint in the hospitality market, we also have endpoints that go into that as well. Because in that market, you have to put the hotel logo, address, and all of the standard features onto the phone. And I'll be more than happy to go through all of those specific features with you on either one by one or on a separate forum. Aside from phones, we also have SIP door accesses. And on the left side here is really indoor, as well as on the right side, outdoor door accesses. And typically this happens when you want to have gate access and a gate. So before you enter in, we have things that has video, non-video version, and being able to offer RFID and a key fob, which you can then be able to swipe through or put in a specific key to allow you in the door. Well, coupled with that, you also need units on the inside of the unit. So we actually have very aesthetically pleasing wall mount units or desk mount units that you can actually see the person who's at the door, that you could recognize, oh, this is the local postal person. You could just push a key and all of a sudden the door will automatically open up to allow that person to get in. It works great in both a residential environment as well as a commercial environment moving forward. Moving forward, there then is SIP intercoms. And SIP intercoms, we have both commercial units that are really designed to provide one button access on the inside environment, and we also have outdoor environments which would also need ruggedized things that can handle rain, harsh humidity and snow and all that stuff. So depending on what platform or what particular capabilities you want, we have 1 or 2 button accesses for intercoms. Last but not least, we have SIP public addresses. What this really is not only does it does public addressing, because in history, many of the public address features were provided by your legacy PBX system that supported phones. When you upgrade that from analog or proprietary digital to SIP, how do you go ahead and access that? One way is to go ahead and actually upgrade all the speakers to IP, but that's a very expensive option. One way is just to basically use that existing infrastructure and be able to put in a PA2 or perhaps a PA3 option in it so that you can convert that old analog system to work under the new SIP environment. So let's just say, that works with, PA systems as well, but it could also provide access to elevators as well. When you upgrade a building, how do you access the analog interface to elevators, or perhaps the parking meters for hotel rooms and all that? So all of these things are just a really small feature set on what this does. But the key topic for this webinar is being able to tie all of these different SIP endpoints onto one simple GUI management interface. Now, what this GUI management interface really does is it provides you the ability to save time in being able to configure many of these endpoints manually. So once you go through what I consider boot camp and getting a single template set up, you can now spend as much time, deploying 1 to 100 to 500 separate phones, all in a central point management. And once you get all of these things pre-configured, you could then send all of these phones to the remote location and just have somebody physically hook this in to the specific addresses, and all of the configuration files will come automatically from the Fanvil Device Cloud Management System, which is a great solution for you to save some time. It automatically provides an optional hookup to our redirection server. What is a redirection server for those who aren't familiar? A redirection server is really the ability so that when the phone gets pulled out of the box for the first time, it says, do I just come up as a standard neutral device, or does somebody own me? So for example, say if you own an ABC integration company, well, if you decide to use this and you plug in these phones, as soon as the phones or whatever other these endpoints wake up, it'll say, oh, I actually belong to ABC company. I will get all of my provisioning services either through their proprietary, provisioning server, or you could point it to our cloud-based server that will provide all the necessary intelligence to configure that phone from a central location. All this will work with a cloud local server here, which is really the cloud-based PBX, or perhaps your local PBX provisioning server that you have on site. So no matter what type of environment, this really provides an overview for that. Now, I did say a cloud-based management system, and this is really enhancement for the existing management system that we offered for the past several years. In the past several years, we provided the ability for you, the partner, to download this software onto a server. And by the way, we also provide this, we'll be rolling out something like this that you can download for those clients that actually don't, that have a requirement for a local-based management system, and we can review that management on a case-by-case basis. But on that download server, it required our partners to be able to have hardware and provide hosting abilities to do that. But now what we've done is being able to eliminate that hardware requirement, and that you can work with both Hector and myself to be able to send you this link so you could set up this management server and provide the services to your clients free of charge. And oh, by the way, I did mention free of charge because this is a service that Fanvil provides to our partners for you to sort of have a tool belt that allows you to deploy our solutions out very easily. One of the benefits of FDMCS, it really is an ability to go ahead and save you time. Not only just to go ahead and provision, but it also gives you the ability to sort of manage and see where the problems are. Because very often when you deploy things in a dental office or an attorney's office, there's typically no IT person on site. So when you go ahead and say something is wrong with one of my phones, you might be able to take a look at this thing, monitor to see what phones, and be able to issue a remote reboot from a central location. So these are all one of many features that allow you to do, and you can have real-time alarms. This is another service that you might be able to provide so that you can actually catch these things when they go from the green working zone into this yellow zone where some things are not registering properly on a site, and you could be notified in advance before you get the trouble call from your client. This is just a pictorial view here on showing really how the central FDMS can manage the different areas and different user area sites remotely. But what this really depicts is that not only does it do phones, but you could also manage, remote intercoms as well. We could have people that deploy intercoms throughout different locations at different sites, and you can actually passively monitor all of these things all from one central location without disturbing it. Now, one of the things I do want to point out as sort of as a heads up, many PBXs that you deploy out in the field already have a provisioning server. And what I suggest is most of those provisioning servers work fine. You can actually click on that provisioning server, see a Fanvil model, click it in, and it deploys, and it's just fine. But what I suggest is pick one or the other so that you shouldn't have two different provisioning services in place, because that creates a lot of confusion. Because once you decide to use both, you might, there might be conflicts where this one will say, oh, this firmware got updated by somebody else, and you might have a tackling back and forth, but some people can work around that. But in either case, you might be able to use this to supplement models that aren't necessarily on the provisioning services, and you can manage as well all of the different models and lack provisioning. So it really depends on what kind of solution you're seeking to deploy out in the field. What kind of devices it is, even though it's a cloud-based management system, the good news is that all of those endpoints are all supported here. This is just a quick snapshot about all the different hotel business phones, as well as intercom and access devices, all located here. And this will eventually grow as our solution set grows as well. So you don't have to worry about what's done. So many of the legacy Fanvil providers that we have, all of your phones will also be supported on this new platform as well. As I mentioned earlier, this is the current thing, which we'll go through SIP account management, but in the earlier webinar topics that we did in June and July, it talks about how do you manage your channel of management? How do you organize this tool to go into you? Now, this is a library that we're going to have under the Fanvil YouTube library, so you can go back and see what you're going to actually have access to, and you can go through this to kind of, once you learn how to fix your organization, then you can begin importing these devices and setting up configurations. And today, what we're going to do is, how do you go ahead and import the SIP PBX onto this device? And once you do that, then therefore assigning user accounts become really a simple pick and choose type of application, so that you can go ahead and update and manage these things through task management and assign where the alarms are going to go through. And my client Hector is going to go through in detail all the different types of options you have and being able to set that up. And we have one last bit as of September 8th and 9th that'll go over these topics as well. Should you have a question that comes up post of this, send it to support@fanvil.com. Likely we'll all kind of be informed, but if you happen to be a global provider, that's a general email box that will be sent to whomever locally that will provide support to you. So how is it going to look when you actually start up this thing? How do you go ahead and get Fdmcs into your account? Just go ahead and send a request to sales@fanvil.com and let them know and advise what type of email you want to have as sort of your login email to go ahead and do that, so that we can set that up for you in advance. And then once you get this link from us, you're going to get this link that's going to look like this. And this link will only be valid for 3 days. So once you get that link access for 3 days, I suggest you go ahead and click on it. And once you click on it, it's going to solicit you for your username, login, as well as your own assigned password that you want to go ahead and bring onto this password. And you can actually do this through us, which is Fanvil, or what we've also done is you can contact our local authorized distributor to be able to hand this link to you as well, so you can turn this around in 5-10 minutes depending on how fast a phone call is. So key features, this is just a quick high-level description before I hand this over to Hector. And in the SIP account management, you'll also notice that when he brings this up, what this really does is the ability for you to be able to add a SIP account onto your platform. Nearly all of us will be affiliated with some sort of hosted or on-prem thing, and you can add it one at a time by this, which you will actually be able to define all of these different accounts one at a time. And once you set up your master template, then at that point in time, you could then assign different user accounts to different locations and different models, depending on where you're going to go ahead and do that. In addition to adding one at a time, we also realized that you could have bulk imports as well, so that you have a template to be able to bring bulk of these account assignments into this account. And you could also have the ability to export it. So this is really a way to do importing one or importing bulk or exporting bulk, depending on what you need to do. Now let's talk about task management. What can you do to assign tasks? Well, the task will be able to give you a quick heads up view on all of the different tasks that you've assigned that have been completed, and some of those that you may assign that hasn't been fully completed as well. And then he'll go through all the different setup keys that will give you access to say, okay, this is what's pending and this is what has failed in your local device. And you can support things like factory reset, upgrade firmware, or update the specific configuration files, depending on how you could have employee maneuvering where you have a new employee that came on block. This is how you can go ahead and do that. And last but not least, you have alarm management. And this is something that you can be notified via email, and you can assign different levels of interruptions that you might have for email, or you could have it all centrally located here. I'm not going to go over this eye chart with you here, but you could then go through in a lot more detail with Hector below. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and pass on the demonstration over to Hector, and this is just one slide that you can go ahead and see and how you can get hooked up with us in social media. For those who may have signed on late, there's a soft copy that you can download from the handout section that will give you all of these social media tools so that you can stay in tune. So I'm going to move on to the demonstration part of it, and I'm going to pass the window on to Hector, who will go ahead and give you a walkthrough. Okay, Hector, are you on board?
Thank you, Tommy, for the pass. Good morning, everyone. My name is Hector Zurita, Fanvil Products and Solution Manager for North America and the Latin regions. I will have the pleasure of joining you today during the demonstration that we'll see below about the new Fdms solutions. Okay, the screen now shows the Fdms login interface. The administrator must be entered the user credentials, okay, defining at the moment of account activation to enter the system. So the system dashboard will immediately be displayed with important information to show in real time, such as number of device of registered device, percentage of devices that are online, offline, not configured, okay. The status of the SIG accounts that you have configured is also shown. It actually indicates a percentage how many accounts are registered, registration file, and in a normal status. We can also see on this side of the dashboard information regarding the size and organization that are configured. In detail, the detailing can also be located on this side of the dashboard, okay? On the left side of the dashboard, you will find the different sessions that make up the Fdms Cs. Each of them have been explaining in the previous webinar of how to use one and how to use two. For today's webinar corresponding to how to use three, we will look at the SIG account management, task management, and alerts management. So let's get started now. This session is very important. Since it allows the administrator to have configured by default the SIG server that will be used to register the SIG account or extensions, and also define the SIG accounts or extensions that will be associated with the users. In this way, when adding a device for a specific user, you can also configure the corresponding SIG accounts directly from the Fdms Cs, okay? At this moment, we can see on the screen the main menu of this session. Here, we will be able to observe the status in real time of all the SIG accounts that are registered. We will find name of the account associated with the user number and defined name. It will also show the status of the account, display the registration status for the field register line, can be registered, file not registered, and unknown. Click the drop down arrow to view the registration status of all lines as shown now. Here we see the name of the associated SIG server. And on this side, we have the operation menu. The first button allows you to basically disassociate the SIG account that is associated with the user. When you click, the system will show you the following warning message, okay? Then we have the button to edit account. Here, all the information associated with the account will be displayed. Any necessary adjustments can also be made. If you need, for example, to change the SIG server associated with the account from here, it is easily done. Account settings, for example, user authentication and authentication password can also be configured from this session. The assigned device, file will allow you to easily associate a device previously added to the Fdms Cs to that account. If we click on this tag, we will find advanced options, for example, to define the proxy user and proxy password if necessary, as well as the number associated with the voicemail. We also have in the operation menu, the bottom, that allow you to easily delete the account. After clicking the system, the system will ask you if you really want to delete the select account. The icon that we have on the right side allows you to configure the information that we want to show on the initial screen on this session. For example, as you can see, only the voice message number option is not shown by default, but just by clicking on the option, we can add it as well. Okay. Here we can perform a search in two ways: search by account status and search basic and the associated information of the account. For example, name, user display name, and server name. If we click on the option to add account, the following screen will be displayed. Here, the information associated with the account to be registered is defined. Account name, server name. The SIG server must be 81st. Okay. Number of SIG extension associated with the user. Name that will be shown on the display, user authentication and authentication password, and then the device that will be assigned this account. As you can see, the option to AC account is similar to the menu that you get by pressing the edit button from the operation session. Okay. In addition to adding account individually, they can also be added in batch. For this, you must select the import option. Okay, and a window similar to this will be displayed, showing the supported format and the option to upload the file. And you can also export the accounts to our file in that CSV format. Okay. If no account is selected, then all the accounts will be exported. Okay. And if you need to export a specific account, you just have to select it. You just have to select and then click on the export. Okay, option. Then we have the SIG server tag. Here, the information of all the SIG servers that are configured will be displayed, as well as the status of the accounts that are added to each SIG server. So we have server name, server address, domain name is applicable. In account status, the total registered accounts are shown. Okay, how many are in assigned status, how many are not. In the operations menu, we have two buttons to edit the SIG server and to delete. If we select edit, here we can the necessary files to configure that are server name and server address. You can also define the domain name, SIG port usage, transport protocol. Okay, that can be UDP, TCP, and TLS for encrypted traffic scenarios, and as well as the proxy server address and port. Okay. If it is the case that it is required to define a main and a secondary SIG server, it can also be defined from the Fdmcs through the backup server. For this only, this tag must be displayed. Okay. This tag is shown. This tag that is shown Fdmcs account is not currently available. In fact, you will not find in the web guide of your Fdmcs account. Later, when the function is already available, we give you all the details. Okay. As you can see, the account management section is too complex. Now we will move on the next section regarding the task management. The first thing we find is an overview of the tasks that are scheduled. The name of the task will be displayed. The task content that can be reboot device, factory reset, update firmware, upgrade config by model, upgrade config by site, and upgrade resource file. Then the task time is displayed, indicating the date and time of the start and the date and time of the end of the task. Okay. Then the status is shown when the task is displayed. The The number of tasks for each type of status will be shown. We can be to be executing, successful, failed, cancel, stop, and timeout. Then the creator of the task is displayed, and then the menu of operations. Okay. The first button of the operations menu is to execute the task immediately. Okay. The next button is to cancel the execution of the task. The third button allows you to enter the configuration of the task to edit any option you require. Okay. And the last, the operations menu button lets you know all the information associated with the task. This button that we have at the top, we allow you to edit the information bar on the main task menu, so that only the information you require is displayed. There is also a main menu, search menu that allow you to filter in different ways. Okay, for example, you can select a complete search in all status, or only a search of the tasks that were carried out, or also the tasks that are being executed. Okay, so you can also filter the search by selecting the type of task, and also perform the search by filtering tasks according to how it was defined to be executed, either immediately, scheduled, or repeating. And throughout this filtering, we can search for task by placing the name of the task, the name, okay, the name of the task, and the MAC address of the device that was programmed the task, or also placing the name of the task of the device. And also, and there is also an advanced search that allows you to filter the task based on a specific period of time. That, with respect to search filtering, now we go to the option to add tasks. Okay. Here we will all the information necessary to schedule a task, name of the task, okay, type of task, that means how will be carried out immediately, schedule, or repeating. Then the task content, to select the type of task that is required to be performed. Okay. Then the method to be used to assign the task to one or more device is defined. Okay. It can throw the assign the device method as shown on the screen now. These filtering options will be displayed, okay, which are selecting a site where you already have the device previously located, okay. Filter throughout the model, and you can also filter by placing the MAC address or name of the associated device, or simple another alternative to assign the task to a batch of device is through this option that allow you to import a batch from Mac in a simple way. Since you can import it from an Excel file, okay. And this time, as is the configuration, if you click, just one moment. If you click the Save button, the task will be applied immediately to the select device, okay. If you require the task to be scheduled or repeating, you just have to select it from here. In the case to program it, selecting will enable the start and end date and time settings of the task. And if you select repeating, the corresponding settings will also be enabled, as shown now in the screen. First, you define the start date, okay, then the duration, and then the cycle you want to repeat the task. For example, if it is weekly, you can tell it exactly what day if it is monthly, you can tell it which day of the month to perform the task, and you can also select the exact day and week of the month throughout this option. Okay. The task session also has a submenu that allow you to know the task that we will complete, as well the status of the task. Okay. First, show the name of the task, then the task content, task time, okay, status. When displayed in the tag, will show the number of tasks for each type or status, which can be to be executing, successful, failing, cancel, stopped, and timeout. Then the creator of the task is shown, and then the operation menu, which is basically to know the details of the execute task. This button, we have at the top, we allow you to edit the information bar on the main menu to be execute task. Okay. Now, let's go to the alarm management session. The platform supports sending alarm email in a station, alarm message to user when the device is abnormal. For example, account registration files, cloud storage space is insufficient or sufficient, factory settings are restored, and task execution files. So the users can choose to check or deselect the corresponding exceptions items when the device is abnormal after the selection. User will not receive the alarm notification email. So click the alarm management, okay, to enter the message notification setting page as shown in the figure. You can see organization. Allow you to select the organization that will receive these alerts. Then we have alert details, okay, where we select the type of alert we want to receive. Could be a call registration fail, cloud storage space is insufficient or not full, factory reset, reboot device, task is failing to run. Okay, here let's select select task immediately, schedule or repeating. When the device is offline, okay, subscriber set the mailbox to receive alarm message. You can set up more than one mailbox. Okay, we go back to the main menu of the task session. Here we will find the window corresponding to the notice management list with the following information: alarm details, shows the type of alarm, the MAC address of the associated device. Okay, alert type can display the following alert types: account registration fail, factory reset, reboot device, etc. Organization, show the organization associated with the device presenting the alarm. The alarm level is also shown, which can be high, medium, and low. Then the time information that shows the day and time of the alarm. And then we have the operation menu that allows obtain the detailed information about the alarm, and also the option to remove the alarm from the list. Another alternative to eliminate a specific alarm is selecting the corresponding box to activate the submenu. Okay, at the top of the page. There we will find the option to delete the alarm. Okay, also to mark the alarm as unread, and also to refresh the status on the page. This section also handles a search filtering to facilitate the administrator to locate a certain alarm. Okay, filtering can be done by type of alarm, okay, alarm level, okay, or also by placing the MAC address associated with the device that needs to monitor the alarms. And finally, within the alarm section, there is another menu called message management. Message management list shows firmware version update message. Okay, when the firmware version of the set model is updated, the message notification will be displayed in the message management list and the message notification in the navigation bar. Message management list display file tutor. Okay, here it shows the message firmware upgrade reminder. Content, here the font model corresponding to the firmware is indicated, and time, here the day the message was published will be displayed. This message will be also be found in the bell, okay, icon that is displayed at the top of the web guide, and they can be easily delayed in bulk just by clicking on clear all. With this session of alarm management, we finished the demos today. The demos of today's webinar. Now we will go to the question and answer session. If you have any question about the information shown today, please let us know throughout the chat. My colleagues Tommy and I will be answering each of your questions. Thanks again for your assistance.
Thank you very much there, Hector. Any questions, feel free to put those questions in the question box, and Hector and I will stay on to address those questions. If we cannot address it, then we can talk to you on the side if you have something one-on-one. Should you need any support, you can contact both, Hector or I. You can actually reach out to support, because actually both of us will be copied on it at fanvil.com, and we'll stay on. So far, if there's no questions, then I'll let you know, and we can just go ahead and sign off as necessary. So again, just for my contact information, for those who want to reach me, you can reach me at Tommy, TOMMY.LEE@fanvil.com, or you could just send it to sales@fanvil.com, or you could just send it out to Hector Zurita, which is HECTOR.ZURITA@fanvil.com, or just send it to support@fanvil.com. Either way, we'll be able to get in contact should something arise after this webinar. We'll be more than happy to address any questions you might have. Well, as of now, it seems like everything is, there seems to be no questions, and therefore I'll just devote this last 15-20 seconds to say thank you very much for your time and joining with us. For this third session. We'll have a fourth and concluding session at the next session. And if you have anything that we have missed that you have questions about, feel free to give us a call. We'll be more than happy to help you out. Again, thank you very much out there. Stay healthy and have a wonderful weekend if we don't touch base with you. Okay? Take care. Bye-bye.